Good evening. My name is Matthew Mabutas, and tonight I will be talking about the rotating speaker stand on behalf of Gex. The two other teammates that contributed to this project were Christopher Taylor and Zachary Melendez. Today we'll be talking about these four categories, starting with product planning, then moving on to customer needs, product specifications, and the economic analysis and marketability of the speaker stand. During the planning phase, the team took many different ideas all across the board and then narrowed them down into three potential products to design, which you'll see on the next slide. And using those designs, we were able to outline the needs and define the goals that we have for our product. The team wants to assert that the rotating speaker stand stands out above all the other ideas. And for this reason, for the automatic screw sorter, it didn't have enough marketability and it required too much technical expertise on our part, which we didn't really have. As far as the next category, which was the automatic blinds adjuster, it had too much competition in the market already with all the smart home devices, but it also would have been difficult to interface this device with the user's existing infrastructure in their dorm rooms, given the variety of the knobs and ways that the blinds operate in different rooms. The speaker stand stood out among all three of those because one, it was pretty simple to design and it was something that could easily be implemented into a dorm room without having to take too much consideration about the existing infrastructure. If you look at the diagram on the left, you can see that it's going to have an infrared sensor to track the user's movement. It's going to have a servo motor to adjust the rotation of the stand. And we also made sure that it would have a rubberized platform so that whatever we put on top obviously won't fall off in the process. Here we have our team's mission, and the real purpose of the speaker stand is to be able to adjust the direction that the sound projects. And the user is going to be able to experience this when they're walking around the room doing chores, maybe when they're at a party. They're going to be able to experience the sound a lot more immersively because it's going to project in their direction due to the user tracking features. Some of the constraints and assumptions that we had for our product were to make sure that it was compatible with most medium and small speakers. It was, had a maximum volume of 16 by 16 by 16 inches and a maximum tracking range of 3 meters. And by that we meant, beyond 3 meters, you don't want it to be tracking maybe your dog in the other room, but within 3 meters, maybe you don't want it to track something too close to the speaker. We felt that 3 meters is a pretty well-defined range. The goal is to have our product launched on the 8th week of production and planning, which is going to be in April 2021. In terms of our potential customers, we created this customer profile for a college student named Wes Wessington, and we do want to emphasize that our target audience is going to be college students who already have the tools and materials with speakers, amplifiers for those speakers, a source for their music, etc. And in the case of Wes Wessington, he happens to be a 23-year-old male. He likes spending a lot of his time listening to music on Spotify, and he already owns a Bluetooth speaker to listen to his favorite band, 100 Gex. We analyzed some of our potential use cases for the product, and the first one being cleaning a room while listening to music. And in the case where you don't have the rotating speaker stand, you would otherwise have to, take the speaker and physically move it to another location in the room to be able to listen to it. However, with alternative flow 2, under the assumption that you would have the speaker stand, you wouldn't have to do that because the stand would be able to rotate within a 360-degree range and optimize the direction that the sounds will project in. If you look at our Gantt chart right here, you can see that the critical path, which is going to take 43 days cumulative, is highlighted in red. And some of our longest portions of the project are going to include our customer interviews, our competitive benchmarking, and even that last part with the DP3 report. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the customer needs. And we found that that was important to just kind of get a feel of what people really want in our product and what areas we should target our product to meet. Some of the statements from the customer interviews included things like, I like the sturdiness of my speakers. And so we obviously wanted to create a product that wouldn't deter from that. We want to make sure that when we implement, when we implement the speaker stands, they are also sturdy themselves. They can support a lot of weight and they can last a long time. Another statement that was pretty common was it can be positioned in many different spots, and that was in reference to their speakers. And like I said before, our product will be able to rotate the user's speakers within a 360-degree circumference, 360-degree range, and that basically the interpretation from that is to make sure the stand is compact and can hold a variety of different products and speaker sizes. Some of the other common ones where customers were actually referencing the use of wires and how, some people that have large speakers that require dedicated power amp would actually want to reduce the amount of wires used in their system. So we would have to make sure that our rotating speaker stand uses a lot more, onboard power supply to reduce the need of external wires and junk that would just clutter up their listening space. In terms of prioritizing our potential design choices, I do want to talk about two of these. So one of them was the stand can be waterproof, and that was something that we chose not to pursue. We found that it wasn't very desirable in the end, and it wasn't really necessary, especially because if you are interfacing this in a speaker system, there's already an assumption that the speakers themselves aren't waterproof, so there's really no need to make a waterproof stand. Hopefully the user wouldn't want to pour water all over their speakers and their stand. Something that we found was actually critical to the design was to make sure that the stand was compact and was able to fit different speakers. And we found that to make our product competitive because it was able to, and that makes it able to work with many different users' systems. So if you have a Bluetooth speaker, or if you have those high-end audiophile level speakers that require a lot more space, our product will be able to interface with both of them. Moving on, we're going to be talking about our target specifications and how we derive those. We use one of our competitors' products as a benchmark, and this is one that was actually not used for speakers. It's meant to just be a rotating platform to display something like jewelry, maybe a piece of art. And on the next slide, we're going to be showing you the QFD, and I'll be breaking down the specifications that we chose for our product. Right up here, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to read out all the specifications that we chose. So that was allowable weight, range of motion, the maximum range, the largest speaker size, the negligible vibrations produced by the speaker stand, so that it wouldn't interfere with the sound coming from the speakers, the weight of the stand itself, the implementations of the Arduino Uno, which is a requirement for our mission statement, the use of wires, and ideally trying to minimize that, and obviously minimizing the total cost, keeping it under $60. If you look at the technical importance and technical priorities, you can see that the least priority was, our lowest priority was the weight of the stand, and our highest priority was the allowable weight. And so that ties into the durability factor and making sure that our product is able to withstand, different kinds of speakers, different weights, all that stuff. Ideally, we'd be trying to sell our product for about $40, and given that assuming a production cost of about $25, we'd be making $15 for every item that we sell. And given that we would ideally try to sell about 500 a year, we could have net positive returns after maybe a year and 2 months, given our break-even point of 571 units. However, we also assumed a maximum profit of $12,500, and that would be assuming that we'd have about 1,500 students purchasing our product, and that really comes from the amount of college students on the campus that have speaker systems that would even want to consider purchasing our product. Today we talked about the market competition. We gained input about the product specifications from our customer base, and we eventually came up with our economic analysis for how much money and the marketability of our product. Are there any questions?